Hi everyone. Today I'm going to show you some hand weaving samples. This was the one that started it all. I really love this piece of weaving. It's very fine, it's very small, and you'll see it. Hopefully you'll be able to see some of the detail in there. This strip along the top, see if we can get that in focus, that was what started the whole thing. Like many of my samples and things that I've done and tried, it all started off at school. So another teacher was doing tie and dye classes, and one of the techniques he was using is what we call tritique, where you sew the design, pull those threads really tight, and then dye the fabric. And at the end of the lesson, as all the students were cutting off, they were using this cotton cord to sew the design. When they cut the cord off their fabric, they had all of this multicolored cord that was just being thrown away. And I thought it was too beautiful to waste. So I sat down and started weaving it together. And that's where I got these very subtle little colors running along the top. The rest of this was then done with crochet threads mainly, and some embroidery thread as well. So this is just hand weaving. It's not done on a loom or anything like that. Not a proper loom anyway. Literally all I did was get a piece of cardboard, I think. No, didn't do this one on cardboard. I did it on a piece of board and hammered tiny little nails in along the top and the bottom. Wrap some thread up and down to create my warp, and then using these threads on a big needle, and then hand wove it back and forth. You notice it gets pulled in a little bit in the center. That happens a lot in hand weaving. It's very difficult to stop that from happening because there's nothing to support those threads in the middle, and as you weave and you're trying to keep it nice and tight and neat, it sometimes get a little bit too tight and pulls in the center. Anyway, wanted to show you some other things that I've done. From there, I went on to do this one, which I think it goes that way. Similar thing, I used some of these threads in the middle are threads that were dyed, that students use in classes. A lot of them were then threads that I purposely began to dye. So whenever we were doing classes with tie and dye or batik or anything like that, I would purposely have this, I kept this bundle of thread on my desk, cords of different sizes. They're all cotton cords. They were all light to begin with. And I would go and dip them in the different vat to dye. Some of these, if you look at this pink one, you might notice that it's variegated. And the way I did that, let's see if I can show you that. Yeah, you should be able to see it. The way I did that was by dipping the cord in the dye and then pulling the strands of the cord apart. So there were areas that were dyed strong and areas that didn't get the dye so much, so you began to get variegations. I've since then got a whole collection of different cords that I've constantly started dyeing so that I have them whenever I need to use them. The beads in this are pretty much all ceramic beads, apart from these two at the bottom here, which are, and these two little ones at the top, which are plastic. These are ceramic beads, look, clay beads that I made, and I just added that in to the warp threads. Create a little variety in the weaving. I'm feeling very breathless today. I keep getting up and standing up to look at to get to the camera. Oh, this is tiring. Okay, so here are some others that I did. I began to experiment with different shapes. So for this one, how did I do this? Yeah, I did nails in the board in a cross shape. So I had a few nails here, a few here, a few here, a few here. Did threads back and forth in that direction, and then wove in a circular fashion. So these ones in the middle here are kept very loose because it's just skipping straight across, and then they do a regular up and down weave and then go straight across. I'm sure there's many weavers out there who could tell me some of the technical terms. I don't know, these are just experimental things for me. And then when I finished, I've put wire around the edges to kind of keep the whole thing together. Here's a couple of circular ones that I did as well. Oops. Once again, I think I used a compass to measure it out to get the circle properly, so that I could hammer all the nails in on equal spaces in a circle, and then I did threads going across top and bottom. No, sorry, there's a big thick lump in the middle of this one because I actually did the threads back and forth like that. So if anybody's ever done string art, you'll know what I mean. So I went across like this, back up, and then I kept skipping to the next nail, to the next nail. So all of the threads actually crossed over in the center, so it's a bit thick there. And then I proceeded to weave around that. Now I've tried to do different types of weaving, so I'm not just going up and down. I've done different types of, I guess you could call them stitches. I don't know the technical terms, but just experimenting and then leaving the edges loose. Once again, you can see all my colorful strings are all hand dyed. They're not natural dyes, they are synthetic dyes, but I've selected colors that are quite earthy for these. This one is one of my favorites. It's very bright. Doesn't actually look like weaving, it looks more like a crocheted thing, but it is woven. Just like this one, I did it on a circular hand loom. So I did a circle of nails on the outer edge, but this time I did a circle of nails on the inner edge. And so my warp threads went back and forth between that inner and outer circle, which is why there's a hole in the middle. And then I was able to weave around that. Now for this one, I did use crochet threads. So most of my threads are not dyed by me. They came that color. Especially the red one, that's my warp thread. I think the weft thread, if you could call it that, the ones going around, those are mainly threads that I dyed. But the red one in the middle that I started with was a red crochet thread. So you've got that contrast of that nice bright color. Now this came out looking almost like a crochet more than weaving. Just showing those to you, giving you some ideas. You can feel free to experiment, have a look at different things you can do. And it just follows on from my last video, which was looking at fabric manipulation. And in that you'd have seen where I had ripped bits of fabric, woven them together, and I'd done what's it called? Rag rugging. That's it. So just weaving strips of fabric together as you would do if you're making a rag rug. So just showing you different things that you could do with fabric, with cords, weaving, tie and dye, all of these things. I hope it's inspiring you, giving you ideas. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and that bell, and you have yourself a good day. Thank you.